Who put tanks in Fortnite? Really? So the best battle royale on the market. And if you think I'm wrong, leave a comment and let me know. But also, you're wrong that I'm wrong. So just so we're clear.
Hi everybody, welcome to PinkyTech. I'm Joe and I'm excited today because I think I can finally declare without hesitation that budget PC gaming is back. Now I have this gaming PC today that I built for around $650 depending on what parts you put into it and what sales are going on at the time. So for around $650, I've got a budget 1080p gaming machine that I think everyone is going to enjoy. Alright, so starting off this build we have the Intel i3-10105F. Now this is an i3 processor, so it is 4 cores and 8 threads. However, it's a fantastic start for a gaming PC, and with 4 cores and 8 threads, it is a little dated. A lot of people want to move to 6 cores now, but if you're playing esports or some of the not hard to play titles, a 4 core 8 thread processor on 10th gen Intel will be just fine. Now this processor only cost me about $70 at my local Micro Center store. However, I know a lot of you guys don't have Micro Center available or readily available for you, so you can actually pick this up on Amazon and they're generally only around $80. Now for the motherboard today, we have the Gigabyte B560M DS3H AC. Now I've talked about the DS3H line of motherboards a lot, be it either B450, B550, or B560 as we're looking at here. And they're fantastic boards, especially if you're not going to be doing any kind of overclocking. And since we don't have a K-SKU Intel processor, this really fits the bill. Now I picked this board up with Wi-Fi for about $80 on Amazon Warehouse, and I would suggest you guys look there because Amazon Warehouse is just a great resource to get basically open box products from Amazon. Now if you don't catch it in Amazon Warehouse, you can actually get this board for about $115 to $120 depending on what sales are going on. And then if you don't need Wi-Fi, get the regular DS3H board and you'll save about $20 there as well. Now since we are using the B560 motherboard platform, you can actually upgrade this to either an i5 for 10th gen or an i5 for 11th gen. Heck, you can even do an i7 or i9, but at that point you might want to do some overclocking. Maybe look into a Z490 board if you wanted to do that. But this motherboard will allow you to do XMP profiles on your memory. And speaking of which, we have the silicone power kit of memory. This is 8 gigs by 2 sticks, so 16 gigs total, and running at 3200 megahertz. And since we are running B560, we can actually get the full 3200 megahertz from this motherboard. And since this memory costs only about $50 to $55 depending on the sales on Amazon, I'd recommend using it versus trying to get something cheaper like a 2666 kit or a 3000 megahertz kit. That way you do have room to upgrade in the future and you don't waste money by just getting something that's $4 or $5 cheaper at this point. Moving on to the storage, we do have a Team Group MP34 512 gig, which I picked up on sale for about $46. Now 512 gigs of storage is plenty to get a couple of games on plus your operating system. And if you wanted to in the future, you could either upgrade that to a terabyte or add in a terabyte spinning disk to hold your game library. Now powering this gaming PC, we have the 600BR from EVGA. Now this is a 600 watt Browns rated power supply that is non-modular. However, it is plenty of power for the parts in this machine, and also if you wanted to upgrade to like a 6600 or a 3060 in the future, you would have enough cable connectivity to do that, not to mention plenty of power to be able to power that upgrade. Now for the gaming PC case, we have this Antec NX200M, which is a pretty nice, even compact micro ATX case. It's not ITX, though you could fit an ITX board in it. It is actually micro ATX, but it is a bit slimmer and a little tighter than most micro ATX cases. Now I've done a full review of this case, but for about $65 on Amazon, there's not a whole lot on the market that's going to compete with it. Keep in mind, this is a 3-pack of Asia Horse RGB fans that I've added, as the case itself only came with one exhaust fan that was non-RGB. All in all though, cable management inside this case is fantastic, and it's got plenty of airflow to keep these components nice and cool. And if you want to see a full review on this case, I'll leave a link to that video down in the description box below. Now for the graphics card today, we have a GTX 1650. Now this model is from Asus and it's a great option for 1080p gaming. However, any 1650 that's a dual card is going to run just fine for you. Now I was able to pick this up at Micro Center for about $210. However, they normally sell for about $200 to $250 on Amazon. I would stick with one of the versions closer to $200, and I used about $230 in the build guide for pricing purposes. Now, another option that you do have is going with an RX 6500 or an RX 6400. However, this is a PCIe Gen 3 build, so those will run worse than the GTX 1650 does in this configuration. Obviously, if you move to 11th gen, then you could run the 6500 and get a little bit better performance than the 1650. However, you would still be missing NVENC and some of the other features that the 1650 will support. So I would say if you're going to up the build to 11th gen, you could look into a 6500 if you couldn't find the 1650. However, make sure you're aware of all the limitations of those two cards, be it the 6500 XT or the 6400. And then, of course, like everything else, beware of falling prices in the GPU market. You may be able to get a 1660 for somewhere around $300 here soon, though maybe not hold your breath on it. All right, now with all the parts out of the way, let's get to the build. So when I build a computer, I like to break it into 3 phases. The first phase is what I call preparing the motherboard. So during this phase, I'm going to install the CPU cooler, install the RAM, install any NVMe drives, basically anything that's going to directly connect to the motherboard, I want to get installed right now. The exception, of course, being its front panel connectors and, of course, the graphics card, because you can't really connect those while you're waiting. And that brings us into phase 2, which is preparing the case. So during this phase, I want to get the power supply installed. I want to go ahead and remove anything I'm not using from the case, install the I/O shield, put in any fans that you may be adding into it, in this case our Asia Horse fans, and make sure that you got all the standoffs ready to go. Then that brings us to phase 3, which is basically bringing everything together and cleaning it up. So during this phase, we get the motherboard installed. We're going to go ahead and connect all of our front panel connectors, install the GPU, run all of our power cables, and then at that point, it's time for some cable management, which admittedly is easier without a cat messing with your cables. But once that's all done, make sure you just install all your panels back in, and then of course, make sure you get that plastic peel. Yeah. And in case you guys missed it, I actually benchmarked this exact PC right here, over on my YouTube channel during a live stream one day. And we played some Warzone, some Apex Legends, ran a couple synthetic benchmarks. So I'll show you a couple snippets from that so you can get a sense of the performance.
All right, so not bad. CPU score 4331 and a graphics score 3704. So you're looking at average scores there. And yeah, I mean, a solid start to gaming here. So. Oh, look at that tracking, guys. Perfect. I'm just going to wait to the end and hopefully everyone else is gone. And then I don't have to worry about it. So. Did y'all see that? Warning shots. You always have to give warning shots. He did not give any warning shots. Full screen, 1080p. Not going to limit the frames. Let's try with high. I want to go with full scale. We'll go epic view distance, and then we'll back down the other settings to medium here. Let's apply that, and yes, we want to keep the. Fortnite's generally a bit laggy when you first get into it, so. Once again, this is another game that I don't play very much. So. Sir, that is uncalled for. You are a non-player character. Alright, well. I don't know if that was my aim or girl trying to find out those building controls, but I'll take it. Yeah. worst Uber ride ever. But who put tanks in Fortnite? Really? So the best battle royale on the market. And if you think I'm wrong, leave a comment and let me know. But also, you're wrong that I'm wrong. So, just so we're clear.
Only half the squads are left.
That's fine. We're going to turn this off. And we're going to drop that down a little bit. Texture filtering. Basically, let's put this on medium. There we go. Let's drop this down a bit.
Care package coming in.
If we can find something to shoot at over here. Yep, something shooting at me. Oof, that was terrible. Thank you. Let's be toxic.
Reloading.
Yeah, I didn't have much there. Sorry. Nah, why is everybody shooting the Gibby? Come on now. This is karma for earlier when I did that Pathfinder. No, but this has been fun. So we got benchmarks, so around 100 FPS on most of the games here. Obviously Fortnite running a bit more, Warzone running a bit less, and you know, we didn't have to drop every single setting down to low or play at a smaller render resolution or anything like that. So I would say this has been a success.
So there we go, guys. Budget PC gaming is back, and I'm so excited that it is. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what changes you would make to the build. Hit the like button because that helps me out, and consider subscribing. And as always, if you want to discuss PC talk, we do have a Discord server. Once again, link in the video description down below. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.